Shedeur, which quarterbacks are you talking about? Because there's some bad quarterback play out there, but the dude who can't beat Dylan Gabriel out for a job and can't beat Joe Flacco out for a job certainly can't lay claim to being better than any other quarterback in the league.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
That's a lot for a closer. 10. You're not a closer anymore if you blow 10 games. I mean, my goodness. That's
he's mentally broken too. Like, it's to the point where, like, Dodger fans aren't even mad at him; they're more mad at the Dodgers for putting him out there.
Putting him in,
right? It's more so.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, guys, like, he's done.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball has decided it is time to put balls and strikes not just in the hands of the umpires, but also the robot umpires, as they say. The ABS system is now officially in place starting next season. Now, keep in mind, they're not just throwing this out there. They have used this at the Arizona Fall League, and they've also used it at different levels of the minor leagues as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Everything changed at that point. They went and got Jonquel Jones, and they really had that triple threat monster team. That second year they lost in the WNBA Finals, 3-1 against the Las Vegas Aces. Year 3, they finally get over the top hump. And you can question whether they should have won the title with that foul call late in Game 5 that sent Breanna Stewart to the foul line.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome into In-Game Live Game Day here on SportsGrid. Happy Thursday evening, everybody. I am Brady Kannon in for Gabriel Morency this evening. Scott Wetzel will be joining us momentarily as we have quite a bit to get to here in live wagering opportunities on a Thursday evening. Of course, NFL Week 9 will kick off in Miami. The Dolphins hosting the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens right now currently sitting as a 7.5-point favorite. Really haven't moved from that number much all week long. Lamar Jackson expected to start tonight, his first action in a few weeks, certainly nursing that hamstring injury. Expected he might be back last week in a game against the Chicago Bears. Tyler Huntley filled in admirably. They won and covered that number, held the Bears to just 16 points on offense. So that says things about this defense getting healthy as well. And a great win last week for the Miami Dolphins in upset fashion on the road. After getting blitzed the week prior by the Cleveland Browns, they come back into Atlanta and absolutely embarrass the Falcons. Quite a game there for the Miami Dolphins as they continue to try and rack up wins here and preserve the life of their head coach, Mike McDaniel. That football game will kick off in about 15 minutes. We'll get the plays that both Scott and I have in that one. We've got 2 college football games going on. Looks like exciting games, off to good starts already with Tulane and Texas San Antonio 10-6 right now in favor of the Roadrunners. They went off as a home dog tonight. And then also Marshall and Coastal Carolina, the Thundering Herd, out in front 7-3. Hockey, NBA, it's all here in front of us. The only thing not going on is baseball. We'll have to wait for Game 6 on Friday night as they return to the Rogers Center in Toronto. We bring in our man, Scott Wetzel. He has recovered from technical difficulty. Welcome aboard, my friend. How are you?
Thank goodness for baseball not playing tonight. I don't say that too often, Brady, but as a Dodger backer supporter, I could use a day off after these last couple of days, right? Put baseball aside. Let's just shut it down, and hopefully it's got the same effect with the Dodgers. Just shut it down for a day and just completely forget about it. I know they obviously can't, but we can as bettors. Just like pretend the season is over, kind of how the Dodgers played last night. So, yeah, a little Thursday night football. You said it. We'll do our opening pickoff here in a second, but if you could figure out this Dolphin performance last week, you're a better man than I am. As a Dolphin fan, I don't know where that came from. After watching them play the first 7 weeks of the season, for them to play as well as they did last night. So what are we going to get tonight? Well, that is the subject for me, for the most part, for our opening pickoff. These are the plays that we start the show. We're going to follow these, in addition to other plays that we'll be making throughout the 3.5 hour program tonight. So I'll go first, Brady. I don't trust the Dolphins at all. I don't really want to lay 7.5, short week on the road, no less. That's a bad scenario, right? So let's rare time. We're going to use a 2-team tease as my first play. Give me Baltimore. I'll use it in a 6-point teaser. I'll lower them from 7.5 down to 1.5, and I'll lower the over/under from 51.5 or so to 45.5. So Baltimore minus 1.5, over 45.5 by one of my plays.
Okay, well, I'll come right back at you with the Baltimore Ravens, and I'm with you. I didn't want to lay the points, and no, I'm not going to just take them on the money line, but I'm going to parlay them on the money line. So they were a big, heavy favorite on the money line, better than $4, I believe, were the Baltimore Ravens, just to win this game outright, take the points out of the equation. But I coupled them with the San Francisco 49ers, and some people might question that. Another road favorite, 2 road favorites here. But what I like about the 49ers is, with their offense being limited due to injury, they're really leaning on the running game and Christian McCaffrey. And they're facing the New York Giants, who are one of the worst teams in the league in defending the run. So I think that will open up things for San Francisco offensively. The Giants are not good in the red zone. They commit a ton of penalties. I think San Francisco gets right and rebounds after that loss to the Texans last week. And I don't care if really Brock Purdy plays or not. I think San Francisco, again, will rely on the running game and their ability to stop the run, who the Giants no longer have Cam Scatterbo, of course, unfortunately. I think San Francisco walks away with a win. And, of course, we get a win tonight. I believe, like you, that the Ravens will come out of here with a victory with Lamar Jackson back under center.
Yeah. What are we going to get out of Lamar? I don't know. He wasn't healthy enough to play just 4 days ago on Sunday. He has the extra days off for his next game since this is a Thursday. So are they going to run him? They're going to pass him. You know what you do when you're not sure? You go with your best player, really, on offense, and that's Derrick Henry outside of Lamar. Over 87.5 rushing yards will be the play. That's down from 89.5 that it was earlier this morning when I originally looked at the lines, and then I put them in a little bit later on. I was a little surprised about that. He's actually only hit this 2 times, but you know what? This season so far, but it's Miami, and I'm just more inclined to throw out last week's game and blame it on the Atlanta Falcons. I don't know how they stopped, Robinson, one of the best running backs they did. To think that Dolphin defense, they gave up over 200 yards rushing to has-been running backs, is going to stop Derrick Henry and Bijan Robinson back-to-back weeks. I got to see it to believe it. So give me Derrick Henry over 87.5 yards rushing tonight.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you. If you look at Miami defensively, 29th in the NFL in terms of how many yards they surrender per carry on offense, rushing the football, and then also on defense, 31st in defensive passer rating. So Lamar can do whatever he wants. He can hand it to Derrick. He can throw the ball. I don't think Miami has the defense to defend it. Pretty funny note there I saw on social media. DraftKings threw out that same exact pick, but it was a misprint, and they said over 89.5 touchdowns at minus 113. And somebody pointed out that they didn't think those odds were too fair, minus 113 for over 89.5 touchdowns. I'm going to stay with Miami, but I have the Heat visiting San Antonio. Good basketball game coming up later this evening, 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. A couple of the best teams in the NBA right now to start off this young season. And I'll take the points. I'll take all 6 points with the Miami Heat. I think we get a really good one here. Maybe it goes over the total. Both these teams have not had a problem scoring the basketball. But I think Miami is different from last year. Younger, deeper, faster. Spoelstra has this team on a run right now. And I think 6 points is too many to separate the Spurs from the Heat tonight. So I'll take the points there on the hardwood.
All right, I'll go right back to Derrick Henry. I'm going to go over 6.5 receiving yards. He's hit this 4 times of the 7 games. Not a lot, but more importantly, he's been targeted every game except one, and that was a 30-point blowout win over the Cleveland Browns, rather. So they didn't really utilize him like they normally would in a relatively close game. So that's one reception, and I think he gets it tonight. Over 6.5 receiving yards, Derrick Henry.
I'll double up here because I know we're pressed for time, Scott, but I'm going to take 2 games on the ice, on the late night slate here out west on the ice. I'll start with the Edmonton Oilers to beat the New York Rangers, minus 155 on the money line. You know, you would take a look at the 2-time losers of the Stanley Cup Finals here and look like their season has started off relatively pedestrian, but they are 3-1 at home. And of course, they're at home tonight. And the Rangers, I don't know if they're going to be good or bad this year, but right now, so far, they've been pretty bad. They are coming off of a win, but they have not been that impressive at all. I think Edmonton gets it done here tonight. And then secondly, I'll go to Southern California, where you have the Detroit Red Wings, who have been red hot, 7-3 on the year, facing the Los Angeles Kings, who have also been very good. And I think the odds makers are telling us something here. I think the average hockey fan would look at this and go, boy, the Red Wings are plus 125. Yeah, give me the Red Wings. But the Kings are like minus 150 or so. I was able to find minus 139. I'm going to go with the odds makers here and believe that the team who is favored, deservedly so, is the LA Kings. I think they get it done on home ice tonight in Southern California.
All right, my last one will be a basketball one, NBA. Believe it or not, I'm going to go with the Washington Wizards tonight, plus 15.5 against OKC. Do I think they're going to win? No, obviously. But one thing about OKC this year so far anyway, and I thought this might be the case, they're winning their games. They're 5-0. But they're 1-4 against the spread. They had a couple of games go to overtime already. That's a huge number to lay. They probably win by 10, 120, 110, something like that. To the Wizards, plus 15.5. The opening kickoff. More coming up in Game Live.
You just see Texas in any game, and again, Kentucky used to be able to put up points in the past. 43.5 is crazy because it just feels like Texas is going to come in, play really good defense, and try to squeeze this game out. It'll be interesting to see because nothing got ailed from that victory last week. Texas is back. I'm just being facetious at this point. But if we see one of those performances, 17-14 Texas.
In the fourth quarter.
Yeah, come on.
Right? I mean, really. I mean, they got a gift last week.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. It looks like the Bengals fantasy pieces are back. What did you make of that Joe Flacco performance on Thursday night? Turning back time.
Yeah, it was great for a guy like me with gray in the beard. I love seeing it. I love my representation. But at the end of the day, just from a wagering standpoint, if this continues, it'll give some consistency and it'll give some value back to those tools that you were mentioning on the Bengals.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Defense is above average this year, and I think big picture they're going to be probably the most consistent moving forward. The problem I have is this guy, Trevor Lawrence, big picture. You got to take the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the ugly sometimes is real ugly. He is not comfortable in the pocket on a consistent basis, and that's a problem.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
It starts innocent. One bet, one boost, one thrill. You're not haunted by ghosts. You're haunted by doubt. But that's where SportsGrid brings the light when the lines get dark. The only thing scarier than losing a bet is missing a winner. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Hi, welcome back. It is In-Game Live Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Brady in for Gabe once again tonight as we take a look at NFL, little Thursday night football. Should have been a halfway decent game, but instead you got two teams record-wise that are really struggling. There's an excuse for Baltimore, I suppose, not so much for the Miami Dolphins. But here's a few more plays. I always like to throw these out in addition to our opening pickoff there. We always throw the winning score, right? We hit this in a series of plays a few weeks back, so we always kind of throw it out there. Give me Baltimore to win. I always take the favorite and then to win 27-21. That pays 125 to 1. You got $5 on it tonight. It pays you $625. So Ravens win 27-21. And point spread wise, that's kind of how it's supposed to be. Let's go with each team to score a touchdown and field goal in each half. That's 15 to 1. Lowered from 16 to 1 when I saw it this morning. So maybe somebody knows a little something about this game, because those lines usually don't move. But each team to get a touchdown field goal, I can see that happening. How about each team to score 2 touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns and 2 passing touchdowns? 25 to 1. You certainly see Baltimore putting 28 points on the board. My concern is Miami, but at 25 to 1, if I already got one team that's almost locked in to get that, I'll take my chances that maybe we can get the Dolphins to play ball tonight as well. And then last one, the more conventional one, give me over 91.5 yards rushing and receiving Devon Achane. He's been it for the Miami Dolphins, especially now without Tyreek Hill there. And, Tua doesn't want to throw the ball deep. He doesn't do that. He throws all these dump ball passes, whether it's the tight ends or running backs. So Achane is their main guy, Brady. So over 91.5 yards rushing and receiving Devon Achane.
I'm going to go final score 26-18. Kind of an oddball number there.
Yeah, really odd.
But I'm going to, and I didn't play the game under the total, but this is a very different Baltimore Ravens team than what we've really been used to this season, maybe outside of week 1, when obviously they had their full complement of players out there. And ever since then, they've really been a mash unit injury-wise until, say, last week. And now we get Lamar Jackson back as well. And last week, Matabukwe is the only defender really of note that is no longer, or is currently still on the injured list for the Baltimore Ravens. Everybody else is pretty much back healthy. And what did they do last week? They held the Chicago Bears to just 16 points. Now, that defense was atrocious, for a 3 or 4 week stretch there. But now they've gotten healthy again, and the Bears are pretty good offense. So to hold them to 16 points, I thought was pretty impressive. I'll give the Dolphins 18 tonight. I think Baltimore gets to 26. I don't know what the odds are on that number, but it's kind of an oddball score. Probably a pretty good price if you can get it.
I would think so. Let me see. The game is just kicking off. They might not have the correct score up there anymore. No, I don't see it. But yeah, that's probably at least. Most of them are either 100, 125, or 150 to 1. That's probably at least 150, if not higher. So, and not only did they stop the Bears, but don't forget the week before that, or 2 weeks ago, because they had a bye in there, they stopped the Rams. Remember, they lost, but only 17-3 to the Rams. So. They've been healthy and have been awful this year, but then they all got hurt. And then, maybe them coming back, maybe they were hurt before they really officially got hurt and sat out some bunch of games, but they've been awful. You're right about that.
Big names too, Lamar Jackson, Ronnie Stanley, Kyle Hamilton, Marlon Humphrey, Matabukwe. Name a star on the team. They've been out for a period of time for this team.
Yeah. I wonder, Brady, is Lamar really healthy? Dolphins get the ball first, by the way. Or, where is Lamar Jackson from? South Florida. So Did he make a miracle recovery from not being able to play Sunday to I want to play, I don't care what condition I'm in, Thursday? Or is he playing Thursday because it's South Florida, that's where he's from? He's been in the league long enough, but, listen, that's still a thrill. That's still an extra, thrill for him to go down there and play in front of his friends and family and everything else. So I just wonder if he's really healthy all of a sudden now from Thursday to Sunday or Sunday to Thursday, or he just really kind of wants to play because it's Miami.
Well, I think you and I talked about this a little bit last night on why, if he couldn't play last week, why, 3 or 4 days later is he playing this week? And I would guess that, part of what you're saying is absolutely true. He's like, hey, I want to go this go around here in South Florida. We always have had success against the Dolphins. I like playing in front of the home crowd there, my home crowd as far as friends and family, like you say. But at the same time, he probably could have gone last week, maybe, was on a pitch count, what have you. But Tyler Huntley comes in. Not only do they win that game, they win it comfortably. Okay, so now, Lamar, perfect. Everything worked out just right. We didn't have to rush you back. Now he's gotten a few days extra rest. So I think it worked out just how Lamar and the Baltimore Ravens would have liked to have worked out. He probably could have played again last week if it was a real pinch, then he had to, but he didn't have to. And so now, he gets to go where he's very comfortable in front of friends and family and has had a lot of success in the past.
All right. Dolphins move down the field, and typical Miami Dolphins, they call a timeout. Not the end of the world, first half timeouts, but you're 2 minutes into the game, literally.
Everything's scripted at this point, right?
And 9 seconds into the game, and your first drive, you played 4 plays here, 3-4 plays, and you need a timeout already?
Hey, Coach, I'm confused. This isn't going according to plan. We need to stop it.
Unbelievable.
I don't know.
All right, so we'll see what happens when they come out of the timeout. I was even considering Brady using Baltimore as a survivor pool pick, but
yes.
I wanted to do the smart thing, and the reason I didn't is I don't know the condition of Lamar. Maybe he's forcing it. He's going to give it a go. Then midway through the second quarter, he realizes he can't play, and I got Tyler Huntley, so I didn't do it. But did you consider it? If you have any survivor pool plays open?
Yeah, our friend and colleague Adam Kaufman asked me earlier today. He said, what are your top survivor plays in order for this week? And I said, give me a minute. He texted me basically when I was just waking up out here on the West Coast, right? And so I got around to it later today. Number 1, the Rams. No surprise there. I think the Rams handle business with the Saints. But my number 2 was the Ravens. And he said the same thing you did. I wonder about Lamar. And I said, the market is not showing us any uncertainty. There was no movement in the market, any doubting of the Ravens. The number stayed at 7.5 and even threatened to go to 8.
Yeah. All right, Dolphins with a field goal. We'll update the lines when we come back in Game Live.
You just see Texas in any game, and again, Kentucky used to be able to put up points in the past. 43.5 is crazy because it just feels like Texas is going to come in, play really good defense, and try to squeeze this game out. It'll be interesting to see because nothing got ailed from that victory last week. Texas is back. I'm just being facetious at this point, but if we see one of those performances, 17-14 Texas
in the fourth quarter,
yeah, come on,
right? I mean, really? I mean, they got a gift last week.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. It looks like the Bengals fantasy pieces are back. What did you make of that Joe Flacco performance on Thursday night? Turning back time.
Yeah, it was great for a guy like me with gray in the beard. I love seeing it. I love my representation. But at the end of the day, just from a wagering standpoint, if this continues, it'll give some consistency and it'll give some value back to those tools that you were mentioning on the Bengals.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Defense is above average this year, and I think big picture they're going to be probably the most consistent moving forward. The problem I have is this guy, Trevor Lawrence, big picture. You got to take the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the ugly sometimes is real ugly. He is not comfortable in the pocket on a consistent basis, and that's a problem.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
It starts innocent. One bet, one boost, one thrill. You're not haunted by ghosts. You're haunted by doubt. But that's where SportsGrid brings the light when the lines get dark. The only thing scarier than losing a bet is missing a winner. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. So opening drive, Tom and Dolphins go about 30, 40 yards, a couple of big plays, and they kick a field goal. A typical Miami Dolphins, as we, Brady, they have 3rd and 6. I'm not going to nitpick everything with the Dolphins tonight, but, 3rd and 6 you're not going to get 7 yards handing the ball off. You're just not. So I don't know what that tells you about the Dolphin offense tonight. If you've got HN, props, I will say I'm encouraged about that they're going to give him the ball on a 3rd and 6, a key 3rd and 6, almost in the red zone. So, but field goal good. He only gained 2 yards. So Baltimore still a 7.5-point favorite. You're not getting any discount, down 3-0 here. So they get the ball for the first time, and the over/under stays at 51.5. Let's switch over to a little NBA. We got 4 games tonight. A couple of halfway decent games. I know you said you liked Miami earlier. They tip off in about 20 minutes or so. I did like the Magic tonight. 73-61. They lead Charlotte. And Charlotte's a mess. I tell you what, they don't get criticized as much. When you think about bad, rotten franchises in the history of sport, you think the Cubs and you think of all these Arizona Cardinals have been atrocious. You don't generally throw Charlotte in there, but boy, you look at their rundown of their records and their history. You can count on one hand how many times they've had a winning season. They have been just an awful, awful franchise, and I don't think anything's changing this year. You got LaMelo Ball flipping off the official in the second quarter. He gets fined $35,000. What are you doing? What are you doing? So I like the Magic tonight. They're up. They're up to 12. It's 10.5 now. I don't know if I necessarily would do that. I do like Washington though. I've known a lot of people, Brady, that just bet against the champion of whatever sport it is because it's just a whole different ball game the second year round. You realize the regular season is meaningless. Every team gets up for you. And I'm going to do that with OKC. I always hear it, and I always say I'm going to do it, and I never do. But I'm going to do it with OKC. And they were, as you know, they were so good against the spread last year. You can't possibly duplicate that kind of success. So it's early on. You can still get 14.5 with Washington. I still would. I think this will be a relatively close game. And I'm going to keep on betting against OKC until they cover 2, 3, 4 in a row.
Well, you know exactly what you're explaining there, the way that they were so good against the number last year. Everybody's gunning for you, the reputation of being the champion. It all plays into the line being inflated on OKC every night in and night out. You're paying a tax because of the champion pedigree that they now have. So absolutely. What should the line really be? Should it really be 12? And the bookmakers, they all know what's going on. They know everybody's going to run to the window. Hey, we love this team. They made us a ton of money last year. They won it all. You got to believe that point spread is inflated. And so, more often than not, going against them is probably going to pay the bills. I'll tell you another interesting game. I looked at this one. I grew up in the Bay Area. I grew up a Warriors fan. The Warriors are off to a great start. And I was leery of them going on the road, laying 2.5 or 3.5 at Milwaukee. And then not long before tip-off, it jumped to 7.5 or even 8 because Giannis was ruled out. Well, what's going on now? The Warriors are losing 17-13. The fallen hero theory, the teams, rallying the troops because there's stars on the bench. I don't know what it is, but no matter who was in this ball game, I didn't like the Warriors on the road and people getting a little too excited with the hot start that they're off to.
Yeah. I've mentioned this many times, Brady, and out of all my goofy conspiracies, out of all of them over the last 40 years, this might be the one that's absolutely on the top in that I really believe that these teams are all in cahoots with each other and they all say, all right, when you have a guy that doesn't play, meaning Giannis, a superstar, you're going to win. When we have a guy, and it's not even, okay, when we play Milwaukee, this is a league, like everybody is in it. So tonight it's Milwaukee's turn to win because Giannis isn't playing. When Golden State doesn't have Steph Curry next game, they get to win, no matter who they're facing. And why? Because then the fans not going to bitch. They can't complain, right? They're spending hundreds of dollars, literally, sometimes thousands for these tickets, and yet if they win, how am I going to complain if I'm a Milwaukee Buck fan? Yeah, I spent $500 on a ticket, but they won the game. Who am I going to complain to? And I really believe that the NBA does that. I really do. So,
hey, by the way, Dolphins fumble recovered by the Baltimore Ravens. So the Ravens will be on offense for the second time tonight, trying to get some points on the board.
By the way, real quickly, OKC last year, a remarkable 64-38 against the spread. Wow, that is phenomenal. More coming up.
You just see Texas in any game, and again, Kentucky used to be able to put up points in the past. 43.5 is crazy because it just feels like Texas is going to come in, play really good defense, and try to squeeze this game out. It'll be interesting to see because nothing got ailed from that victory last week. Texas is back. I'm just being facetious at this point. But if we see one of those performances, 17-14 Texas.
In the fourth quarter.
Yeah, come on.
Right? I mean, really. I mean, they got a gift last week.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, it looks like the Bengals fantasy pieces are back. What did you make of that Joe Flacco performance on Thursday night? Turning back time.
Yeah, it was great for a guy like me with gray in the beard. I love seeing it. I love my representation. But at the end of the day, just from a wagering standpoint, if this continues, it'll give some consistency and it'll give some value back to those tools that you were mentioning on the Bengals.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Defense is above average this year. And I think big picture, they're going to be probably the most consistent moving forward. The problem I have is this guy, Trevor Lawrence, big picture. You got to take the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the ugly sometimes is real ugly. He is not comfortable in the pocket on a consistent basis, and that's a problem.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
It starts innocent. One bet, one boost, one thrill. You're not haunted by ghosts. You're haunted by doubt. But that's where SportsGrid brings the light when the lines get dark. The only thing scarier than losing a bet is missing a winner. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back. It is in-game live game day here on the grid. So, yes, turnover Miami, naturally deep inside their own territory. And that converts, 4 plays later, Baltimore had first and goal. Took them 4 downs. They went for it on 4th down from the Dolphin, 2.5 yard line. But Lamar Jackson touchdown pass to, who was Mark Andrews. Andrews. Last from the past there with Mark Andrews. So just like that.
I gotta believe, and that's got to make Lamar feel really comfortable, Scott. Finding his favorite target there right out of the gate, his first touchdown in how many weeks, that's probably a great start for Lamar to find his tight end there, Mark Andrews, for the first touchdown of the game. And I was speculating, Andrews is a popular target. He scores a lot of touchdowns in the red zone. We know he's a favorite target of Jackson's. I got to believe he was a fairly short price to cash first touchdown. I'm thinking maybe 8-1 if you had Mark Andrews to score. Derrick Henry was probably 2-1 or something like that. I'm thinking Andrews was, a pretty short price, but cash that ticket if you landed on it.
Yeah, that's usually a game thing. I don't play the touchdown market too often because the numbers are just not like. I actually looked today for Derrick Henry because I'm thinking he's gonna have a monster game, right? And it was literally minus 230, 240 for him to score a touchdown. I mean, I'm playing 2-1 for him to score a touchdown.
And that's not uncommon. I
know,
remember,
that's why I don't play it, Brady. They make it impossible. Like you can't play these things straight anymore. They know everyone's playing these things in parlays.
Josh Jacobs, all these running backs that score, Christian McCaffrey, they're better than $2 favorites to get an anytime TD.
Yeah. They just, like I said, they know people are putting these things in parlays now. So it's like, you're not going to make it 2-1 or minus 175 because no one's betting that. They're all going to put it in parlays. So if they're going to put it in parlays, they'll put it in parlays if it's minus 250, just like they would if it's minus 175. So why make it minus 175? They've kind of taken the individual play out of the equation unless you want to, really, like I said, lay that kind of wood and who does. It's not a smart bet.
And I tried it a few times last season because, in some cases it looks like low-hanging fruit. And I would try and put together, maybe a minimum of 4 guys, sometimes 5 or 6 guys, and try and turn, $10 or $20 into a real nice payday. And it seemed like every time I came up one short. And I would have some long shots on there too. Like I'd put a quarterback in, like a Daniel Jones, who was maybe 10-1 or something like that. And a lot of times those came through, but it was some of the obvious ones that didn't cash. So I quit doing it. I don't think I hit one. I might have tried it 6-7 times and didn't hit one. And so I just, gave up on it because it wasn't profitable. But you're right. I think you make a good observation there. I mean, is Derrick Henry really minus 250 to score an anytime touchdown, or is that just parlay protection?
Yeah. To me, it's just parlay protection. So, all right, 7-3. Baltimore has the lead. The numbers now, they go from 7.5 or so to 9.5. Not that much of a difference. The over-under does shoot up to 55.5. I don't know if the Dolphins are going to be able to get into a shooting war with Baltimore.
No.
Just like we don't know what we're going to get out of Lamar, in a lot of ways, I don't know what we're going to get out of the Baltimore defense. Great the last 2 games, awful the preceding 5. Some of that, obviously, injuries. But, what are we getting? Can Miami kind of continue on that? I don't know. There is a limit on the over-under. I would be more inclined to go with Baltimore and lay the wood if you had to versus the keep on going over because of the Dolphin, offense not being good.
A lot of points in these 2 college football games, by the way. They started about 45 minutes prior to the NFL contest. UTSA, the Roadrunners, the home dog here, they were catching about 6 or 7 points. And I kind of liked that side, but I didn't end up playing it. They're a very good passing offense, and Tulane cannot defend the pass. And right now, it's all Roadrunners, 17-6. Now, Tulane does have a 1st and goal situation here. You've got about 9 minutes left in the second quarter. But UTSA has now moved to the favorite, minus 2.5. Interesting number there at less than a field goal. And then Coastal Carolina hanging around. They really saw the money go the other way here on Marshall. Marshall was like anywhere from a 3.5-point favorite in that neighborhood, shot up all the way to a 7-point favorite. Right now, 13-10. Marshall does have the ball deep in Coastal territory, so they're looking to tack on some more here. And in the live market, they're a 10.5-point favorite. So they're kind of going according to script. But UTSA is really upsetting what many bettors figured to happen here in that one.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, Brady. I'm not happy about it. I got a ticket on Tulane that I put in at the beginning of the year to make the college football playoff. Just a little hunch in that, you get those 5 automatic bids. Last year it was the Mountain West. I was kind of hoping the Mountain West wouldn't be as good this year. So who's next in line? The American. And I thought with Retzlaff, the quarterback from BYU, going there, they have a pretty good year, right? So anyway, long story short, I have a ticket on them. But tonight, this UTSA team, they're 30-4 their last 34 home games. I know they're not having a great year, but man, you want to give me, 5.5 points with a team that's 30-4 their last 34 home games. And Tulane hasn't looked great this year. They won their games, but they're barely beating Army and a couple of teams there. So I did like UTSA, and you know what? Even though it's 1st and goal, Tulane has it. They're down 17-6. I would take Texas San Antonio. I think they do win this game. You're only laying 2.5.
I'm with you. Less than a field goal, I think it's a good number. I mean, they've really been dominating the game.
Yeah. So Marshall, I didn't quite get why they were such a big road favorite. The 2 teams, they're having a great run there. Everyone thought Marshall was going to be awful this year. The head coach leaves. He brings all his players. It's like you and I could start for Marshall this year. But you know what? They're actually, pretty good. They really are. But I didn't think they deserved to be, again, another 4.5, 5-point road favorite. When I saw that line, I was like, boy, I figured Coastal would be the 4 or 5-point favorite. But it's the other way around. But that said, Marshall just scores, so they take a 19-10 lead. Would you lay 13.5?
20, the extra point. 13.5 is aggressive, but the 10.5. Again, Marshall and UTSA, those are the dominant teams right now. We're still early on in both of these contests. You've got about 7 minutes before halftime at Coastal Carolina, and then just under 9 minutes left to go there in San Antonio. So a lot of football left here. But, Coastal comes off of that huge win last week. They were a big underdog against Appalachian State. and that turned into an absolute shootout. And Coastal won that game. So I thought that they were being propped up and a little bit inflated coming in here. And apparently that's what a lot of bettors thought as well. Like I said, that line on Marshall really shot up. They took a ton of steam. Now, that's oftentimes, a good point to go the other way. But I'm kind of just kicking myself that I didn't get involved with UTSA.
I like the overs in both. I will say, now that we're seeing the underdog in both put some points up, UTSA getting 17, Coastal Carolina at least getting 10. So that's 30, with Marshall leading.
They're both on over paces.
Yeah, right? You always worry about these big numbers. You need the underdog to kind of, it takes two to tango. So that's what I mean. Right. We're getting points from the underdog. So if that's the case, then especially with Tulane and UTSA, I probably like that one a little bit more at 57.5. But I'd have no problem with 8 minutes left to go in the second quarter.
UTSA turned them over
already. Yeah,
that hurts the total right there. Tulane was, had a goal to go situation, and it looks like UTSA turned them over. I'm not sure how it happened. I have to look it up here. But I just checked the screen again, and the Roadrunners have the ball 1st and 10. It looks like maybe a touchback. I wondered if they fumbled it out of the end zone because they've got the ball in their own 20.
Yeah, I see that. You're right. I see first out because I saw 4th and 4 or 4th and 5 for Tulane a second ago, and now it's at the 20-yard line going the other way. So yeah, maybe fumbled the ball out of bounds or something goofy like that. I don't think they punt.
Figure it out
they
here.
They were too far and close to punt the ball. So, all right, Dolphins on the move. Quick little break. They got it 3rd and 4 at the Baltimore 16-yard line. So maybe the Dolphins can play ball. All right, more coming up in Game Live.
You just see Texas in any game, and again, Kentucky used to be able to put up points in the past. 43.5 is crazy because it just feels like Texas is going to come in, play really good defense, and try to squeeze this game out. It'll be interesting to see because nothing got ailed from that victory last week. Texas is back. I'm just being facetious at this point, but if we see one of those performances, 17-14 Texas
in the fourth quarter,
yeah, come on,
right? I mean, really? I mean, they got a gift last week.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. It looks like the Bengals fantasy pieces are back. What did you make of that Joe Flacco performance on Thursday night? Turning back time.
Yeah, it was great for a guy like me with gray in the beard. I love seeing it. I love my representation. But at the end of the day, just from a wagering standpoint, if this continues, it'll give some consistency and it'll give some value back to those tools that you were mentioning on the Bengals.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Defense is above average this year, and I think big picture they're going to be probably the most consistent moving forward. The problem I have is this guy, Trevor Lawrence, big picture. You got to take the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the ugly sometimes is real ugly. He is not comfortable in the pocket on a consistent basis, and that's a problem.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
It starts innocent. One bet, one boost, one thrill. You're not haunted by ghosts. You're haunted by doubt. But that's where SportsGrid brings the light when the lines get dark. The only thing scarier than losing a bet is missing a winner. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Well, this is going to be a long night. This is just going to be a long night. I can't take much more after
Wait a minute now, Scott. This is the Dolphins in 2025. It hasn't exactly been, all cupcakes and candy this season. So, I mean. Yeah,
when you take out this
you weren't
season,
banking on last week was going to turn everything around all of a sudden for this team, were you?
No, I didn't, but it just ticked me off so much because I had Atlanta in a teaser, so that kind of ruined, everything. Although in the end, you know what? I keep on forgetting. I actually had Cincinnati as well in that same teaser, so I got a little bit of a reprieve that both lost, but in like a 5-teamer where the other ones won. But Dolphins drive all the way down the field, right? This, of course, after fumbling and giving Baltimore a gift touchdown. They march down the field like they did their first drive. Drive stalls. It's 4th and 1 at the Baltimore, the 12-yard line or so. They decide to go for it, down 7-3. Makes sense. And the right tackle jumps off sides. All right, 4th and 6. You got to kick the field goal, right? 35-yarder chip shot. You can do a blindfolded. He shoots it wide right. No good. Little Scott Norwood. So after all that, they get nothing. And that's the Dolphins season. And for the first time, I saw Brady Dingaling, Mike McDaniel, yelling and screaming. I thought he was yelling at the ref, but they showed another angle. He was yelling at the player that jumped off sides. I mean, he was like, he is clearly feeling it down there because I have never seen him yell and scream at a player. Never. He's a coach's guy and kisses everyone's butt and everything. So
we've seen him do it when they were on Hard Knocks. Remember that when they featured the Dolphins? We've seen him get pretty animated when they had that inside the locker room, so to speak, show. But you're right. I've never really seen him lose it on the sidelines. And I think, like you say, not only is he feeling the heat, I think that's also evidence that, this locker room is a little unsettled right now. We haven't seen a whole lot of leadership out of the coach or Tua. That's why I kept betting against this team, and they burned me and you last week in that wild win over the Falcons.
Yeah. It's funny. They celebrated like all teams do, after a win. You could be 0-15 or 0-12, whatever you win. You think you're the greatest team in the history of mankind. And so they showed, how they show those clips in the locker room of the players and the coaches all talking. And they showed the coach, McDaniel talking, and they showed 2 or 3 players talking. The one guy they didn't show talking, maybe it's just coincidence, but I didn't hear from Tua. I thought that was kind of funny. They showed the locker room and everyone's all celebrating, but I didn't see Tua yelling and screaming and talking to the players like I saw, 2 or 3 other guys talking. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lines
I hear
up
you.
to 11.5. Whenever the thing is said and done, Brady, you know what they did? I think the boys in Vegas, they did a good job, I think, of scaring you off Baltimore. Right? That line should have been 3.5, 4.5, something like that.
I made it 5.5.
Got 2 wins.
I made it 5.5.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, right.
And I thought that was pretty fair. Maybe 4.5. I said it last night. I figured they win this game somewhere between 4 and 6 points, but Miami's finding a way to really foul it up.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's really 2 turnovers right now, Scott. That's really 2 turnovers. You got 1 turnover as standard, the way it is classified in a box score, but missing a field goal is a turnover as well. So that's really 2 turnovers in what is still the first quarter for the Miami Dolphins. That's not going to win many football games.
They get the most turnovers in the NFL, believe it or not.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but heading into last week, so I'm going on last week's notes. But yeah, they had the most. So they also have the second most. This is another reason why I like Derrick Henry. They've given up the second most 10-yard rushes or more in the NFL, 35. 35 times. Yeah.
They're 29th. They rank 29th in the NFL for the most yards given up per rushing carry on defense.
Wow.
So they're giving up, and that's, it's probably I don't have it in front of me, but I'm guessing it's in the neighborhood of over 5.5 yards per carry.
Yeah. And that's why last week's performance was just like completely. It's like the New Orleans Saints shutting down the Philadelphia.
Maybe the most stunning game this season so far.
Yeah,
really. It was, and on the road against a team that's pretty good at home.
Yeah,
so, wild.
Crazy. All right, so we'll put that aside. 7-3. Baltimore's got it just like that. We're talking here for 2 minutes, and they got it down to the Miami 22-yard line. So.
Yep.
After 7-3, if you do it a little box score, over under, I think first half was probably 10.5 or so. I didn't look this week, but that might have snuck under. And boy, that's a bad under, right? I mean, you had the Dolphins missing a short field goal if you did have the over. I'm guessing at a 55, it probably was 10.5. But
yeah,
anyway,
I would say so. The full game totals right back to where we started. It's at 51.5, which is exactly, I mean, might have even been a flat 51, some 51.5s out there in the market as well prior to kickoff. But now Baltimore is nearly a 2-touchdown favorite, minus 13.5 in game. And I tell you what, the way Miami's going, Scott, I'd probably rather lay it than take it.
Yeah. I mean, if you were afraid to lay 7.5, right? Forget about that. That's a bargain now. 13.5. Right. So, but at least the Dolphins did move the ball a couple of times. I mean, you got to be encouraged about that if you have the over. So,
I mean, that gives you hope to maybe take the 13.5. They haven't had a problem moving it. They've just had a problem hanging on to it and kicking it.
Yeah. Bat the baskets. Let's see how our NBA plays are doing here. Orlando by 7 over Charlotte. Okay, now after 3 or 7 seconds left in the third, so it's down to 6.5. That's a little bit more based on that 10.5.
Orlando was a road favorite in that game, right?
Yeah, but 3. Yeah, by 3.
I worried. I didn't bet it, but I thought Charlotte might show up as a home dog. We'll see. They're starting to come back a little bit here.
Yeah. OKC by 8 over Washington. That's up to 16.5. That's okay. No problem there. Milwaukee without Giannis, 44-37 over Golden State. And your Heat have tipped off, leading San Antonio 15-14 early on.
We'll take it.
Still getting 5.5 on that one.
And already on an over pace. We talked about these teams being fast, and we're already about 5 points above where we were prior to tip-off on that total.
Yeah, which is a little surprising because the Spurs are actually one of the rare and few teams that have played some lower-scoring games this year. So if you get a fat number with that one, I'd be inclined to maybe bite on the under. Believe it or not, dare I say that in the NBA 2025. All right, we're coming up.
You just see Texas in any game, and again, Kentucky used to be able to put up points in the past. 43.5 is crazy because it just feels like Texas is going to come in, play really good defense, and try to squeeze this game out. It'll be interesting to see because nothing got ailed from that victory last week. Texas is back. I'm just being facetious at this point, but if we see one of those performances, 17-14 Texas
in the fourth quarter,
yeah, come on,
right? I mean, really? I mean, they got a gift last week.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. It looks like the Bengals fantasy pieces are back. What did you make of that Joe Flacco performance on Thursday night? Turning back time.
Yeah, it was great for a guy like me with gray in the beard. I love seeing it. I love my representation. But at the end of the day, just from a wagering standpoint, if this continues, it'll give some consistency and it'll give some value back to those tools that you were mentioning on the Bengals.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Defense is above average this year, and I think big picture they're going to be probably the most consistent moving forward. The problem I have is this guy, Trevor Lawrence, big picture. You got to take the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the ugly sometimes is real ugly. He is not comfortable in the pocket on a consistent basis, and that's a problem.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
It starts innocent. One bet, one boost, one thrill. You're not haunted by ghosts. You're haunted by doubt. But that's where SportsGrid brings the light when the lines get dark. The only thing scarier than losing a bet is missing a winner. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back. It is In-Game Live Game Day here on the Grid. Scott and Brady in for Gabe as watch a little NFL, little baskets, and some hockey as well we'll get to before we are through. So NFL with the football. Baltimore scores again while we're away. Mark Andrews again. How about that if you wanted to double down, which I do like to do every once in a while. I don't play that market, but when I see somebody score, sometimes it's like people think, okay, well, he's not going to score again. But in reality, it's like, no, that means that they got him in the game plan. So the chances are he might score again. So I don't know what the numbers were. I don't know if it was scoring 3 times, but 20-yard touchdown reception, basically wide open, Brady. I mean, I don't know how you have a guy, the number one receiver, right, albeit a tight end, and being open, but he was. So just like that, 14-3. I'm afraid to look at the numbers now.
14 and a half.
Wow.
Didn't move a whole lot, but now it's on the other side of 14.
Them scoring.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But a key move there too. Less than 14, now more than 14. Might not honestly be a bad time if you have any faith. Might not be a bad time to take the 14 and a half with Miami. I mean, that's double what the pregame spread was. Basically, you're crossing through a lot of key numbers there. If you and again, like we've talked about, Miami's moved the ball. They've turned it over via missed field goal and a fumble. But like you said about Mark Andrews, how can you leave a guy wide open that everybody in the building, including you and me here doing a show on SportsGrid, knows Lamar Jackson's favorite target is Mark Andrews? And that's the guy you leave wide open? Nah, not good.
Amazing. So I wouldn't go too crazy with Miami just because, at 2-6, and the fan base down there all ready to, want to throw Mike McDaniel out the window along with the GM and Tua tags. And you just wonder how long before the fans all turn on this team. And then you get dissension on the sidelines. You already got the head coach yelling at one of his players. This is not like a 4-3 football team fighting for a playoff spot and happen to be down 14-3. This is a team in complete disarray. 2 wins, albeit one of them last week. So I'd be a little careful. I don't mind going 14 and a half. I wouldn't go if they fall behind 21-3. No matter what the number is, I'd stay away because this has got 42-10 written all over it.
Right. I think you make a great point, and I hadn't really considered that, but you're absolutely right. I mean, you could make a case that they quit against the Cleveland Browns. Right. I mean, what was that final score? That was ridiculous. And Cleveland's not even that great. And maybe it's something that they have, with the AFC North as well. Obviously, they're struggling here against another AFC North division team in the Baltimore Ravens. So, yeah, I think there is that possibility where pretty soon they just wave the white flag. And you don't want to be catching any points with that, as a possibility.
Yeah. 31-6. They lose 31-6.
To the Cleveland
Browns. Oh, I mean, wow.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
So what are they going to do against Lamar Jackson, and a healthy Baltimore Ravens team? Yeah. Maybe we're seeing the writing on the wall here.
And no doubt, Brady, at 2-5, they are not going to call off the dogs. With Lamar being from Miami, he's going to want to run up this, little frustrating season for them. Bunch of bad losses, right? Can't you just see them up like 35-7 instead of just running the ball? They're going to be throwing the ball. They're going to want to put 40 on the board. You wait.
They're going to use it as a practice game. Lamar's got to get into a rhythm. You're right. I mean, now there's a point when they're not going to blatantly pile on, but if we're third quarter and they're up by 20 some points, I don't think it's going to matter. They want to get this guy into game shape and get back into the speed of the game. He's been off for what, 4 weeks, 3 weeks or so. So
3 games.
Yeah. So no, I think that's I don't know. I mean, starting to talk myself into laying the 14 and a half, Scott.
Oh man. Lamar so far tonight, 5 of 7 for 74 yards, 2 touchdowns. So he's on pace for some pretty good numbers. His total passing yards was right around 230 or so, if memory serves me right. Derrick Henry, 6 carries for 15 yards. So he's yet to rip off a big one, but he could do that and then fire away after that. Andrews, the 2 receptions for 22 yards with the 2 touchdowns, likely has 1. Flowers has 2 for 17. On the other side, 2 was 8 of 9, but for 79 yards, so nothing deep. Achan's got 32 yards rushing. He's got 2 receptions. I told you he's at 24. He's already up to 56 total yards. So
Wow.
he's on pace for that 91.5. I told you that's a pretty good play. That's all they do. They just give him the ball. God forbid they should ever trade him. So, all right, hour number 2 coming up next in Game Live Game Day here on the Grid.
You just see Texas in any game, and again, Kentucky used to be able to put up points in the past. 43.5 is crazy because it just feels like Texas is going to come in, play really good defense, and try to squeeze this game out. It'll be interesting to see because nothing got ailed from that victory last week. Hey, Texas is back. I'm just being facetious at this point, but if we see one of those performances, 17-14 Texas
in the fourth quarter,
yeah, come on,
right? I mean, really? I mean, they got a gift last week.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, it looks like the Bengals fantasy pieces are back. What did you make of that Joe Flacco performance on Thursday night? Turning back time.
Yeah, it was great for a guy like me with gray in the beard. I love seeing it. I love my representation. But at the end of the day, just from a wagering standpoint, if this continues, it'll give some consistency and it'll give some value back to those tools that you were mentioning on the Bengals.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Defense is above average this year, and I think big picture they're going to be probably the most consistent moving forward. The problem I have is this guy, Trevor Lawrence, big picture. You got to take the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the ugly sometimes is real ugly. He is not comfortable in the pocket on a consistent basis, and that's a problem.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
It starts innocent. One bet, one boost, one thrill. You're not haunted by ghosts. You're haunted by doubt. But that's where SportsGrid brings the light when the lines get dark. The only thing scarier than losing a bet is missing a winner. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Hi, welcome back. It is in-game live game day here on the Grid. Scott and Brady in for Gabe tonight as we like a little football there, a little basketball, a little hockey as well. So just got the Dolphins corner of my eye here screwing up again. So they had to punt the ball away. Down 14-3. They had a first and goal, but that was wiped out on a long pass by a penalty in which the running back kind of fell to the ground. And you can't hit a defensive lineman below the knees. He, in essence, did. Although the guy didn't trip, but personal foul penalty. He gets taken off the field, Brady. Then I'm guessing the running backs coach, one of the coaches, is yelling and screaming at him. He's yelling and screaming back at him. This is just, I'm telling you, this has got 42-10 written all over it. This is going to get ugly. I would not be putting any more money down. It takes character. It takes backbone. It takes whatever chutzpah to really kind of overcome these things. And this Dolphin team has not seen it. 17.5 now is the number. 53.5 is your total. I wouldn't even do that because I don't know if you're going to get anything more out of the Dolphins, although they're trying. But our main play here, Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football with Baltimore leading at 14-3 over Miami. Your impressions of the first quarter and now a couple minutes into the second quarter.
Well, this may be the end of the road for Mike McDaniel with the dissension we're seeing on the sidelines and the disagreements. You know, I thought it was going to happen after the loss to the Cleveland Browns, and then I think the win over Atlanta saved his job for another week. Who knows? Maybe they'll keep him on here. I kind of hope they do because as bettors, this is a situation that you want to bet against. I mean. It came out of nowhere beating the Atlanta Falcons. This is what you would expect more so out of the Miami Dolphins off of what we have seen as of late. We talked about Tua and McDaniel. We're not seeing the leadership. We're seeing dissension. We're seeing confusion, lack of direction. So you got to believe that they have to make a change here. But, it doesn't seem like Miami is all too concerned to make a quick decision either. I don't know. You would probably know that situation as a fan of this team better than I, Scott. Upper management, the powers that be. It seems like if they really cared, McDaniel would already be gone.
Yeah. The owner, for whatever reason, Stephen Ross, seems to like him. Don't ask why. Nobody else does, but the owner does. I don't think the GM, who's also on his last leg, has the ability to fire a head coach and hire a new one. So it's got to come from ownership. You look at their schedule, and it probably, as bad as it may get tonight, and if we have fighting on the sidelines, you're 100% right. When it gets played out in public like it is so far tonight, that does kind of speed up the process a little bit. But they got Buffalo next week, Brady, and then they go over to Europe and take on Washington. I don't think you want to do that with an interim head coach. I think they would.
I would agree with that.
Maybe the week after, because they got a bye. That would be like, if you look at the Dolphins' schedule, that's where you say the coach gets fired.
Tell McDaniel to call up his spouse and book a vacation for the bye week, because that might be his last stint. That makes sense. I could see that. But then again, are you really going to wait? I mean, it appears we felt a few weeks ago that he'd already lost this team. And even though they beat the Falcons, it doesn't look like any of that's changed.
Yeah. So, all right, 14-3. Let me see how my guy H-Hand is doing. They don't offer, at least I don't see it anyway, updates. They offer rushing props and receiving props. I don't see the combo prop update on FanDuel anyway. It might be there. There's 5,000 different icons, but he's off to a pretty good start. You want to play Tua. We look at the stuff. You always go with the quarterback who's on the losing team, and you go with his passing yards over because they have to throw the football. Could do that. It's locked right now at 84, but let him post some numbers up here. Maybe we'll throw some plays at you second quarter. Haven't looked at the hockey yet. I know you're a decent hockey guy. A bet I'd like to make, Brady, every day is will a team score a goal? So, in essence, no shutouts, right? So, you got 11 games tonight. They were giving you plus 160. It's kind of like the Grand Salami. You have action on every single game. It's as simple as that, right? So, and they generally give you plus odds. And I like to play also, will every game be finished in regulation as well? Those they give you monster.
That's a tough one.
So,
yeah, there's a lot of games tonight.
There's a lot. There is a lot. And you'd be surprised how many games in hockey do go to overtime. It really, there's a reason why they're giving you plus 750, right? But I like both of those bets. Like I said, it gives you action on every game. And as far as my goal is concerned, I got goals out of Buffalo, Boston. I got goals out of Ottawa, Calgary. And I always tell people we play this every night. So even though most of these games start before we're on the air, play along because we're going to do it every single night. I got goals out of Philadelphia, Nashville. Dallas scored a goal heading into the third. I needed that. They were being shut out. They scored a goal. So long story short, I'm alive.
You just need
with
those
all the
Pittsburgh
games.
Penguins.
That's the one.
And that one will make you sweat a little bit.
Yeah, that's the one. And if we can get that, then we got the 3 or 4 late games. So we're doing okay. We're doing okay with that.
And in the 3 or 4 late games, I think you're good. I mean, you've got good hockey teams playing on the late slate tonight. I'm on the Los Angeles Kings. I like that. I like them to beat the Detroit Red Wings, but it's not going to be easy. I don't expect them to shut out Detroit, who's been red hot to start this year, 7-3 so far. And the Kings have been really good as well. Kings are really good on home ice. That's why I like them there tonight. Yeah. And then you've got Edmonton taking on the New York Rangers. Those are both good clubs. I took Edmonton there, minus 155. I'm seeing it up to minus 162. They've been really good on home ice this year, 3-1, even though their record is, maybe just a game over 500, 3-1 at home. And I think the Rangers have been underachieving so far out of the gate. But, are they going to get shut out? I think you're off to a great start. I think the Pittsburgh Penguins, maybe that'll be the one that undoes it for you. But, there's a lot of hockey left there, too. They're just through one period. So 2 periods left to go there for the Penguins to light the lamp.
Yeah. Them and the Rangers at this point. That the Rangers scare me a little bit because they've had their offensive issues. Although mostly of that is at home. But yeah, I think we'll get goals out of San Jose and the Devils. I think we'll get goals out of the Kings, Detroit. It would be
San Jose, you would think would get a goal. The Devils are a massive favorite, but the Sharks they'll get one or two in. I could see that game being high scoring. Devils are off to a great start. You know, they suffered a lot of injury last year, and they look like they're determined to run it back. You know, they kind of got dealt a bad hand last season, but they're off to a great start. And San Jose, you know, it seems like it's been forever since they've been any good, but they're able to put a couple goals in. And they're not going to get shut out.
They've been scoring this year. Giving up some goals, but they've been scoring.
Yeah, exactly.
I tell you, the play tonight, Brady, in hockey, listen, it was a big number, but to me, it was Carolina. You know, they lost the other night to Vegas 6-3.
Right.
I looked it up. If you throw out the last 7-8 games of last year when they were on that awful 1-7 streak, but if you did that, they were 23-8 after losses or 20-8, 20-7, something like that after losses last year. They don't lose 2 in a row, especially when they got embarrassed by Vegas. So I really thought they would come out flying. It's 3-1 now, Carolina, so it's kind of tough to bet right now. I don't like laying 2 goals, so even that is at minus 164. But that they were the smart, to me anyway, the smart play. I got to see them lose 2 in a row on home ice, specifically on home ice.
I'm trying to remember who that was we were talking about last night that was, kind of a classic built for the regular season team. Is there any more team that is quote unquote built for the regular season than the Carolina Hurricanes? I almost feel bad for how bad they have suffered in the postseason. I mean, what are they, 1-8 in conference, playoff, the round of the conference playoffs? They haven't been able to get over that hump at all. And they're a good club.
They are a good club. They really are. But they just can't beat the big boy. Tampa Bay and Florida have just dominated the Eastern Conference, over the last 6, 7, 8 years. I mean, it's just amazing. So, all right, in-game live, quick little break. Back to the board we go. We'll check out the college football scene when we come back. Scott and Brady, hour number 2.
You just see Texas in any game, and again, Kentucky used to be able to put up points in the past. 43.5 is crazy because it just feels like Texas is going to come in, play really good defense, and try to squeeze this game out. It'll be interesting to see because nothing got ailed from that victory last week. Texas is back. I'm just being facetious at this point, but if we see one of those performances, 17-14 Texas
in the fourth quarter,
come on,
right? I mean, really? I mean, they got a gift last week.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. It looks like the Bengals fantasy pieces are back. What did you make of that Joe Flacco performance on Thursday night? Turning back time.
Yeah, it was great for a guy like me with gray in the beard. I love seeing it. I love my representation. But at the end of the day, just from a wagering standpoint, if this continues, it'll give some consistency and it'll give some value back to those tools that you were mentioning on the Bengals.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Defense is above average this year, and I think big picture they're going to be probably the most consistent moving forward. The problem I have is this guy, Trevor Lawrence, big picture. You got to take the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the ugly sometimes is real ugly. He is not comfortable in the pocket on a consistent basis, and that's a problem.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
It starts innocent. One bet, one boost, one thrill. You're not haunted by ghosts. You're haunted by doubt. But that's where SportsGrid brings the light when the lines get dark. The only thing scarier than losing a bet is missing a winner. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
welcome back. In-game live game day here on the grid. Scott and Brady in for Gabe tonight. Watching a little NFL Thursday night football. Baltimore leading the Dolphins 14-6. They added a field goal while we were away, so line is down to 14.5. Over/under is at 53.5. We got about midway through, about 8 minutes left to go in the second quarter. College football, we got two games going on. One's a blowout, one's a pretty close one. Texas, San Antonio. I kind of thought this was going to be the case. 30-4 at home, last 34 games. Not bad. Hosting Tulane, nationally ranked. Hopefully to get into the college football playoff, to win the American Conference, but not looking good. 31-6, Texas, San Antonio leading it. They are late to second quarter, 19.5. They were a 5 or so point underdog, now a 19.5 point favorite. Over under 64.5, Braid. And then we got Marshall leading Coastal Carolina. That's the close one, 20-17. Marshall, about a 5-point road favorite as well. They're laying 6.5, and the over under there is 63.5. So we said earlier, about 10 minutes, 15 minutes ago, we both liked the overs in both these games. Now that we saw the scoring coming, and so far, so good. We just need Tulane, oddly enough. The concern was maybe Texas, San Antonio. We need Tulane to start scoring here.
Right. And, they're both on an absolute over pace right now. You've got Tulane and UTSA. The total prior to kickoff was 54. That is now 10 points, 10.5 points higher at 64.5. Marshall and Coastal Carolina, that closed at 55. It's now 63.5. So both of these games appear to be well on their way to going over the total. And I tell you what, that kind of leads me to want to take the points here with the Green Wave, Scott. And it makes sense because this team went in as what they close at, a 6-point favorite. And now, in fact, you're getting 21.5 with them. They must have done something else here. They're facing 3rd and 10 at about midfield here. 21.5 with the team that was a 6-point favorite prior to the start of the game. And again, the odds makers are telling you that they expect a lot more points. I would have to take the 21.5 with Tulane.
I agree. Sometimes you get into halftime and a team that's that big of an underdog, they celebrate. It's a natural thing. There's a letdown. There's just a natural letdown, at halftime. I often said, if I was a head coach and I had a situation like that, I'd keep my team on the field. I really would. I don't want to change any karma. I know the other team's going to go off, and I know the team's going to sit there for 10, 15 minutes. But you know what? Run drills, run something. Don't do any. Just keep them active. Just don't break up any karma that we got going on. We just put 31 points on the board. I don't want to stop at all. But you never see that, Coach.
It's kind of like the theory I have about bye weeks in the NFL. Why stop the momentum? If you've got a team that's on a 3 or 4 game winning streak, and the bye week is the worst thing you ever want. Let's not stop and take a break and relax and exhale and things are great. We're fat and happy. I love to bet against those teams coming out on the other side of the bye. Kind of the same thing here. You put 31 points on the board as an underdog. Worst thing probably for that team is to stop the momentum and take a break and experience halftime.
Yeah, I forget what game it is this week, but whenever you have two teams in the NFL on coming off bye weeks, the under is like 2-1, and I think it goes into that.
I like that call, and it's the Raiders and the Jaguars.
Yes, there you go. Right,
and I'll tell you, I like the Raiders in that game. Now, again, I'm talking about my theories with bye weeks here. A team that's struggling going into a bye week, I typically like to bet on them on the other side because that bye is a nice time to get things right. Okay, guys, let's reset, fundamentals, yada, yada. And they typically come out and perform pretty well on the other side. Well, both of these teams are struggling going into the bye week. The Jaguars have lost 2 in a row. The Raiders were shut out in their last game, so they were embarrassed. And you know how teams typically respond when that's the case. But it feels to me like the Jaguars laying points, 3.5 points on the road. I don't really like that situation. I think both of these teams, and especially you want to take the points if the game is going to tend to go under the total, right? Because points become even more precious. So I kind of like the Raiders catching a full field goal or better there at home on Sunday.
Yeah. In fact, I got the numbers, believe it or not. Teams after getting shut out, Brady, like Las Vegas, albeit, before the bye, 32, 15, and 3 against the spread, including 2-0 this year.
Right.
So I think, you get shut out. It probably bumps the line up a point or two more than what it probably really should be. Yeah.
Right.
And then, realistically, should Jacksonville be an over field goal favorite on the road? I don't know if they should be an over field goal favorite at home, let alone on the road.
And the perception is that in the market that, oh my gosh, the Raiders, and it was absolutely historically bad their last time out. They only ran 30 plays. I mean, it's one of the worst football games ever played in the history of the sport. So if the stock was ever low on the Raiders, it's not going to get much lower than it is right now. And you're right, Jacksonville, not exactly a world beater either. So I do believe it's a good spot for Las Vegas on Sunday.
Yeah. Tulane's got it 1st and goal at the San Antonio 10-yard line. 12 seconds left.
And down to 16.5-point dogs. That's changed 5 points in a matter of moments here.
This is the bet inside the bet, right? Vegas is betting that they score a touchdown, so they're going to lower the 16.5. If they don't score here, that'll shoot back up to 20-21. So
they may have just scored.
scored.
Now it's down to 13. Yeah, they have
scored that.
They down to 13.5.
Yeah. This is another example of the line being ahead of the score. Yeah,
they scored.
So
extra point pending.
Do they go for 2, 31-12, 31-14?
I'm thinking that. Yeah, why not before the half?
Yeah, right. So listen, if you grabbed it at 20.5, that was a good play. It shot up to 21.5 like 5-10 seconds. And then it went back down to 20.5, and then it went to 16.5. So if you got it to 20.5, that was a pretty good play. Because they're not going to get blown out completely.
You see where the total is now? 71.5.
Wow.
Good old-fashioned Thursday night football for you.
I don't mind 65, 71. You got 43 points. If you want to go with if you think Tulane's going to win, then you put it in a parlay with the over, right? That would be the only way I would put that over.
You just see Texas in any game, and again, Kentucky used to be able to put up points in the past. 43.5 is crazy because it just feels like Texas is going to come in, play really good defense, and try to squeeze this game out. It'll be interesting to see because nothing got ailed from that victory last week. Texas is back. I'm just being facetious at this point, but if we see one of those performances, 17-14 Texas
in the fourth quarter,
yeah, come on,
right? I mean, really? I mean, they got a gift last week.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. It looks like the Bengals fantasy pieces are back. What did you make of that Joe Flacco performance on Thursday night? Turning back time.
Yeah, it was great for a guy like me with gray in the beard. I love seeing it. I love my representation. But at the end of the day, just from a wagering standpoint, if this continues, it'll give some consistency and it'll give some value back to those tools that you were mentioning on the Bengals.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Defense is above average this year, and I think big picture they're going to be probably the most consistent moving forward. The problem I have is this guy, Trevor Lawrence, big picture. You got to take the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the ugly sometimes is real ugly. He is not comfortable in the pocket on a consistent basis, and that's a problem.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid. It starts innocent. One bet, one boost, one thrill. You're not haunted by ghosts. You're haunted by doubt. But that's where SportsGrid brings the light when the lines get dark. The only thing scarier than losing a bet is missing a winner. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Brady sitting in for Gabe tonight as we take a look at some football, a little baseball, or a little basketball. Maybe we'll touch on baseball a little bit later on, and hockey as well. Did get a goal out of the Pittsburgh Penguins, so now we're down to 6. So all the early games came through in our non-shutout plus 160 on FanDuel. So now we got the 3 late games that are just the first one, Rangers and Edmonton, just getting underway. The other 2 start in about 45 minutes or so. First NBA game is in the books. Orlando gets its first cover. They were 0-5 against the spread. Another reason why I liked them tonight. Chances were they're a good team that they were going to get a win in the cover. And what better patsy than the Charlotte Hornets? Didn't get it. I mean, you didn't. You didn't get a monster scoring game out of Pablo Banchero, but he was a rebound and an assist shy from a triple-double. So you lost out on his point total because it was over 20. He finished with 20 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists. Magic win 123-107, which I'm pretty sure went under, Brady. And that's why I kind of stopped playing some of these over and unders. I have better success just betting on the team I think is going to win because I see the final scores and I see 123-107. You know, 120, 113. Yeah, and the games are going under. Even though I'm getting 130 or 230, 235 points, it's like, you got to be kidding me. You know, so
that stayed under by more than 8 points. 123-107, and the total was nearly 240, 238 and a half. I'm seeing at this shop, you know, there could have been 239 and a halfs out there, but yeah, that stayed under pretty easily.
That's crazy. 230 points, and the game doesn't even go close to going over.
Right.
It just, you know.
There's a commentary on the NBA, right?
Yeah.
230 points, and it's well under the posted total.
Amazing. Yeah. So, all right, so we got the 3 other games. OKC leading 66-55. You know, that's what I kind of figured it would be. I'm on Washington. Maybe you'd still get them plus 16.5. I still think with everything said and done, they probably get the cover. SGA's got 20 points. He's on pace for a monster game.
What was the number you played Washington at?
15.5.
Okay, so they're pretty much on pace right now. The live number is 16.5. So yeah, you're all right.
Yeah. So. In fact, I almost prefer this, believe it or not, than even Washington leading, you know, because if OKC is trailing or it's a really close game, they're going to go into halftime. They're going to get the riot act read to them and come on, we got to turn it on. And they can't kind of, you know, go loosey-goosey second half. When you're leading by 10, 11, it's the Washington Wizards. Yeah, we got this game in hand. It's more of a cavalier attitude. So I really don't – I actually
don't
like
disagree.
the position. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I think you're just fine. And Washington, meanwhile, is close enough where they're still going to be trying. You know, you don't want them to get too far behind where they wave the white flag. But no, they're not out of this game completely. So the effort will still be there for Washington.
Yeah. Milwaukee leading Golden State 65-62. That's a pretty close game, obviously. That's early third quarter, believe it or not.
Warriors
over under that.
Favored.
Yeah.
Warriors still favored in the live market by 2.5. Again, they went off as about 8-point favorites, 7.5 or 8 without Giannis in the lineup for Milwaukee. But now down by 3, and they're a 2.5-point favorite live.
Why wasn't Giannis playing tonight? The Greek freak who's really not Greek.
I think it was his knee.
All right. We'll come up with some excuse. Miami leading San Antonio 50-46. That 4 minutes left to go in the second quarter there. Heat still getting 3.5. I know you like Miami. I like this Spurs team, Brady. I do. I have them at 40-1. I don't know if they end up winning it all, but I think they're going to make a run. I think the Western Conference a little overrated. I think, you know, you got some good teams, but it's open for, you know, Wembanyama is going to be so good. Let me check his numbers tonight. Not that he's going to be. He is that good, but I just think a Spurs team, addition by subtraction, with Popovich no longer being there, that curmudgeon, done with him.
I mean, we were not even halfway through the game, and he's got 8 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists.
Yeah. It's a triple-double waiting to happen. It really is.
Exactly. You know, he's put on about 30 or 40 pounds this year in the offseason.
Yeah. Still 26.5 his point total.
As much as he was, you know, in years past when he was just beanpole, but he's put on some muscle. Yeah. I mean, this guy with some strength is going to be unstoppable.
Yep. Not giving you really a discount with his point total at 26.5. Now it's down to 25.5. That's not too bad. You get that down to like 23 or so in a close game. I would hop on. Hopefully it goes even a little bit lower than what it is right now. All right, quick little break. In Game Live, we'll take back to football and then the other hockey stuff as well. In Game Live, Game Day on the Grid.
You just see Texas in any game, and again, Kentucky used to be able to put up points in the past. 43.5 is crazy because it just feels like Texas is going to come in, play really good defense, and try to squeeze this game out. It'll be interesting to see because nothing got ailed from that victory last week. Hey, Texas is back. I'm just being facetious at this point, but if we see one of those performances, 17-14 Texas
in the fourth quarter,
yeah, come on,
right? I mean, really? I mean, they got a gift last week.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. It looks like the Bengals fantasy pieces are back. What did you make of that Joe Flacco performance on Thursday night? Turning back time.
Yeah, it was great for a guy like me with gray in the beard. I love seeing it. I love my representation. But at the end of the day, just from a wagering standpoint, if this continues, it'll give some consistency and it'll give some value back to those tools that you were mentioning on the Bengals.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Defense is above average this year, and I think big picture they're going to be probably the most consistent moving forward. The problem I have is this guy, Trevor Lawrence, big picture. You got to take the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the ugly sometimes is real ugly. He is not comfortable in the pocket on a consistent basis, and that's a problem.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid. It starts innocent. One bet, one boost, one thrill. You're not haunted by ghosts. You're haunted by doubt. But that's where SportsGrid brings the light when the lines get dark. The only thing scarier than losing a bet is missing a winner. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the Grid. Scott and Brady, hour number 2. So we're approaching halftime. George Kurtz will join us in about 10 minutes. We'll do some NFL, a little baseball with him in a little bit. But Dolphins on the move. Yeah, we keep on, burying them. But I will say they're down only 14-6. Baltimore had a couple of chances really to blow this thing wide open. But the Dolphins hanging around. They got it at the Baltimore 21-yard line. I mean, with everything said and done, if they somehow score a touchdown here and go for 2 and tie this thing, the fact that they could actually be tied at halftime, maybe if things go the right way, is a minor miracle. I will say. So it's down to 8.5, and Dolphins got it second down at the Baltimore 20-yard line. So we'll keep you posted on that. Hockey, Edmonton scored. So now we're down to 2 games, both the 10 o'clock games, 10:30. So we got all our games. We play this every night here on the Grid. Every team to score a goal, no shutouts. So we had 11 games tonight. They were paying you $1.60 on that, which isn't bad for this kind of bet. And we're through 9. How about that? So pretty good with that one. I got crushed, the other day, Brady. Man, that's why you got to persevere through this stuff. And you can't go crazy. You really can't. There were like 5 overtime games 2 nights ago. And I'll be telling you, if I think I went 1-4, literally. I mean, every game. Overtime lose, overtime shootout lose. It's just like so frustrating. So, but right back to the well tonight, and hopefully things go my way tonight.
Yeah, it's a fun bet. And I, of course, am rooting for Edmonton. So nice to see them answer very quickly, by the way. The Rangers scored right around, I want to say, the 10, 11-minute mark in that hockey game, and Edmonton right back on the board about 60 seconds later. So we're tied at 1 apiece in Edmonton. New Jersey Devils and San Jose Sharks coming up, and then the night wraps up, like you said, 7:30 Pacific, 10:30 Eastern in Los Angeles. The Kings. This is a good matchup. It kind of reminds me early season, a couple of teams that are off to good starts, Miami Heat and San Antonio Spurs on the ice, kind of similar to Los Angeles and Detroit.
Yeah. As far as some of these props, and again, once it gets to halftime, we'll definitely throw some more plays out for the second half. But I must say, Achane for the Dolphins, he's already got 55 yards rushing. His number was 54.5, so he's over that. He has 33 yards receiving, so he's at 88. His overall, receiving and rushing numbers were 91.5. So we're 4 yards away from cashing that ticket already. I told you, that's all they do. They just dump, that's all Tua does, just dump it off. And they do like to run with him. And his Baltimore defense has given up some yards tonight. No touchdowns yet, but they've given up some yards. So that's not bad there. So hopefully things are going our way. We'll see. Like I said,
they've got a situation.
Yeah,
they've got a situation here. 4th and 2. At the Baltimore 13-yard line with a minute left, 1 minute and 8 seconds left. Let's check the timeout situation. They've still got 2 timeouts. Baltimore's out of timeouts. I'm not quite sure how that happened. But and maybe they called them here to try and preserve some time to come back the other way and get a score themselves. But I haven't been able to tell if that's been the case. But 4th and 2, I think if you're Miami, you have to go for it. A field goal doesn't really do anything for you here.
Yeah. You know why, Brad? Because even if you kick the field goal, they still have over a minute or about a minute, we'll say, left. For Lamar, that's an eternity to, field goals now can be kicked from 60 yards. So chances are you kick the field goal and they're going to get a field goal anyway. So what's the difference, right? You might as well just go for it. And if you end up not getting it,
what happened here? Tua passed it incomplete, turnover on downs. That not good. Not good if you're a Dolphin backer here. I mean, 4th and 2, and Scott, you talked about it. Why aren't you handing the ball to Achane? And why didn't you hand it to him on 3rd down as well? That guy can't get 2 yards? I find it hard to believe that he could.
Yeah. That's again, this is set up for they're going to have, at the end of the day, Tua's going to go 25 of 35 for 225 yards. Achane's going to rush for 100 yards, and they're going to have 9 points on the board because they can't put it in the end zone. I mean, what kind of pass was that? I'm just seeing it now. What was that? I mean,
and now Lamar has 56 seconds. Now it's 2nd and 10. I don't know if without Miami scoring, I don't know if they're going to be hard pressed to try and turn it around and go the other way. They get the ball, by the way, to open the second half too. So They don't necessarily need to push, the gas pedal down here too hard. They're going to get it in another 15 minutes from now. Well, I want to ask you this though about McDaniel. The guy's been around the NFL a long time. And he's pretty much basically a Kyle Shanahan disciple. They've been, DeMeco Ryans, Sean McVay, Mike McDaniel, Kyle Shanahan. They've all been together coming up through the coaching ranks. I don't think McDaniel is that bad of a coordinator. We have so many guys in this league. Look at Robert Saleh. He wasn't great as a head coach, kind of got a raw deal there. We don't maybe know the truth if he's any good or not, but apparently he's a pretty darn good defensive coordinator. The 49ers are decimated by injury. This guy's doing it again. Wade Phillips, Norv Turner, all these guys, there's a lot of great coordinators out there. I'm not so sure Mike McDaniel isn't a real good coordinator, a run game coordinator, a quarterback coach with the 49ers during some Super Bowl years. Maybe he's just not built to be a head coach.
Maybe not, at least not yet. He's kind of young. He's only a coordinator 1 year. And you said it, he's under the pedigree of all those great coaches at San Francisco. So, did he go in line with those guys? Yeah, but maybe he was benefiting from those guys as much as he was helping those guys. I don't even think he's a good offensive coordinator, Brady. I really don't. As a Dolphin fan, I can tell you, he's done nothing with Tua. Now, listen, he's had the injuries. I get all that with the concussions and stuff, but I don't see where he's this offensive genius that people like to throw. Oh, he's an offensive genius. No, he's not. He's awful.
I thought he made a ton of sense with all the weapons when he first came to the Dolphins. I thought he made a ton of sense. And then you add Vic Fangio as a defensive coordinator. I thought, boy, this looks pretty good. It's really been nothing but a disaster.
It really has. And the numbers they're as clear as day, and they've always been as clear as day. They beat the bad teams. They lose against the good teams. Last week as a 7-point favorite, that was only their 4th win as an underdog on the road against a winning team, or a 4th win as an underdog on the road. 4 out of like 26
And I
games.
think that speaks volumes about the coach. We were talking about this on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Our contest show that I do with James Salinas and Mike Pritchard airs here on SportsGrid over the weekends. We were wondering, is Raheem Morris a good coach? We've been very critical of him. I think, when you go out to San Francisco and you're playing a team that's that beat up, and how can you handle success? You're coming off of a big win the week before over the Buffalo Bills, where Bijan Robinson went nuts. You've got a beaten up 49ers team. You're going out on the road playing in prime time, and you just lay an egg. And then you lay an egg again. I mean, that's not a sign of a good coach.
Yeah, he's a Hofstra guy, so I'm a little biased towards him. But to think that Atlanta could have had Bill Belichick, right? Supposedly. No. And they chose Raheem.
And he's doing wonders at North Carolina, right?
Well, of course, yes. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure they really regret that decision. So Dolphins defense comes up big here. They force the Ravens to punt. So the Dolphins will get the ball back with 30 seconds left and 1 timeout. They have it at their own 31-yard line right now. So just maybe a chance to get back into the field goal range. So
they've been able to move it between the 20s, no problem.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, you think about it, Baltimore got the gift touchdown, right, on the Dolphin turnover. So that set up Baltimore 1st and goal. Other than that, they got 7 points. The Dolphins
we'll see how
have
the
more
second half goes, but this is absolutely something to keep in your memory bank going forward, like it just as immediate as next week. If the Ravens, all of a sudden are a 10-point favorite, I don't even know who they're playing. But right now, what you're saying is this is a little bit misleading. So let's not run to the window and think Baltimore is all back just yet, because if the second half goes the way the first half is, it could be very much of a bet against next week.
Yeah. All right, we'll talk some football, baseball. George Kurtz coming up next here on the Grid.
You just see Texas in any game, and again, Kentucky used to be able to put up points in the past. 43.5 is crazy because it just feels like Texas is going to come in, play really good defense, and try to squeeze this game out. It'll be interesting to see because nothing got ailed from that victory last week. Texas is back. I'm just being facetious at this point, but if we see one of those performances, 17-14 Texas
in the fourth quarter,
yeah, come on,
right? I mean, really? I mean, they got a gift last week.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. It looks like the Bengals fantasy pieces are back. What did you make of that Joe Flacco performance on Thursday night? Turning back time.
Yeah, it was great for a guy like me with gray in the beard. I love seeing it. I love my representation. But at the end of the day, just from a wagering standpoint, if this continues, it'll give some consistency and it'll give some value back to those tools that you were mentioning on the Bengals.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Defense is above average this year, and I think big picture they're going to be probably the most consistent moving forward. The problem I have is this guy, Trevor Lawrence, big picture. You got to take the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the ugly sometimes is real ugly. He is not comfortable in the pocket on a consistent basis, and that's a problem.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid. It starts innocent. One bet, one boost, one thrill. You're not haunted by ghosts. You're haunted by doubt. But that's where SportsGrid brings the light when the lines get dark. The only thing scarier than losing a bet is missing a winner. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. So they've reached halftime, and it's just typical Miami Dolphins stuff. So I didn't realize that they just showed a little graphic on the screen. They're the only team in the NFL that doesn't have a 50-yard or longer field goal. I'm a little surprised at that. Nothing to it, but yeah. So anyway, they got to around midfield, and that was that. So halftime, it's 14-6. We'll let that kind of sit there a little bit and let the FanDuel and the others put some halftime numbers out there. We'll put a couple of plays in. But in the meantime, let's bring in our good buddy SportsGrid host. You see it here all the time here on the grid, Mr. George Kurtz. Talk a little football, a little baseball with him. What's going on, George? What do you think? 14-6 Baltimore, only 4 first downs. Brady and I were talking about this. It's really, statistically, Miami is dominated, but what counts on the scoreboard, they're trailing 14-6.
Yeah, Miami's missed a couple of opportunities, right, to score. They had the big turnover. It sort of helped Baltimore here. I mean, it's been good for me. I'm on Baltimore and the over, so I would have liked some of those opportunities to have cashed in a little bit. A field goal I would have taken that to get me more on pace for the over there. Listen, Miami is what Miami is, right? They've got problems. Waddle's looked good tonight, although I have no props on him. Baltimore, you got Lamar back, and you still seem to be a little off here, right there. And I guess that's not to be unexpected, right? He's been out a few weeks here, but I think I expected a little bit more from them. As you said, if this game was played on paper, it's probably the Dolphins winning, not the Ravens.
George, what have your impressions been so far of the return of Lamar Jackson? Does he look 100% healthy to you, or does it look like maybe not quite yet?
I doubt he's 100%. I mean, is anybody 100% in the NFL? But he couldn't play Sunday. They waited because the extra couple of days. He had to play Thursday night. I think he's still injured, but enough where he can play. Or he's hurt, but not injured. How about that? So I don't think he's 100% Lamar. I didn't take any of his rushing props tonight because I was wondering if he was going to play a standard game. I'm wondering if Baltimore thinks, listen, we're going to beat Miami without risking Lamar. We get through tonight, we win. What are we, 3-5? We're right there in the AFC North, and he gets 10 days to really get up to health here. So I think I'll treat Lamar like Lamar in Week 10, not tonight.
Mm-hmm. Who did you like going in to start? And now that it's 14-6, the lines right now, Baltimore, a little bit more of a favorite, 10.5, and over-under is 44.5. That's down from the 51.5 it was to start the game.
Yeah, I like Baltimore. Once again, I think they're a better team than Miami for obvious reasons here. I thought Lamar, they'd get that extra spark as well here. And like I said, I do expect, I guess maybe we could say last week kickstarted them, but I do expect this to kickstart Baltimore and their playoff push here. Their schedule is not tough from here on out. So I thought this would be a nice little kickstart game for them, even though it's a Thursday night on the road here. So I was on Baltimore, late the points coming in, took the over as well here. That we may not be doing all that well. I did take Lamar two plus touchdown passes here. We got that already. Also, Derrick Henry to get in the end zone. That looks problematic here. He had his chances, couldn't get in on that first or second drive.
George, for just the second half alone, I'm seeing a line posted here, Baltimore -3. Would you lay 3? Are the Ravens going to tack on here in the second half, or would you take the 3 with the Dolphins, or would you rather mess with the total? If you're on over the total, you might play the second half over. Just the second half alone is 24.5.
Which means the appearance of 49 the game. I think I might play the under here. There, I think Baltimore still is finding it. All right. I don't know if I feel great at them -3. Scott already said it. Right. We talked about it. I mean, Miami has probably outplayed them in this game. Mistakes is what has hurt them already. But I don't feel great about Miami getting +3 either. All right, we know they can make mistakes, and here we go. They're getting blown out all of a sudden. So I don't feel great either way here. Both offenses look just a little off here, right? Miami can't get in the end zone. They're playing bend but don't break here. And Baltimore, Lamar. I said Lamar is not Lamar yet. I think you'll see Lamar. He'll be Lamar next week, not tonight here. So I actually might take the under of 24.5.
All right. Automatic thinking, anyway, is we take the quarterback that's losing at halftime and play his over passing props, thinking that they're going to have to throw the ball a little bit more. In that case, if you want to go there, that's Tua, obviously. He's thrown for 152 yards. The number is 277.5, so you're going to need about 125.5 yards, 125 yards with him, we'll say. Lamar's at 89. They're posting it on FanDuel. 186.5, so you're going to need about 100 yards from him. Any interest in going over with either of the two quarterbacks?
Well, I think you hit it, right? I mean, Miami's down by 8, so they're going to have to throw the ball here. Tua has looked decent, right? Other than a pass here, a pass there, that he's missed. I think he's looked decent here. We know Baltimore has trouble in the secondary, and they don't have a great pass rush. So I kind of like the over there. You're not asking much from Lamar either. My only question is this. If they score the next touchdown, and now they get up by 2 scores, 2 scores plus, if you count the 2-point conversion here, they might not rely on Lamar anymore. Maybe more of a Derrick Henry, Justice Hill second half here. So I probably like Tua's, and I think I would play Tua more than I like Lamar's passing total in the second half.
George, we'll get to some baseball in the next segment. We've got Game 6 coming up in Toronto on Friday night. But I wonder about Week 10. You mentioned Lamar. You expect him to really find his gear in Week 10. The Ravens will be on the road again for the second straight week. They'll be at Minnesota. Miami will remain at home and host the Buffalo Bills. Any early thoughts on either of those contests?
Well, I don't think we really have thoughts on Minnesota until we see what J.J. McCarthy looks like on Sunday, right? I mean, he's coming back. Carson Wentz is gone. I mean, I don't know if I truly believe in McCarthy. I don't believe in McCarthy. Not yet anyway. He's only played 2 quarters of NFL football here. So I don't know what we're expecting from him. So it's going to be hard, unless he looks really good on Sunday, which I doubt. It's going to be really hard for me to think that he's going to be that guy against Baltimore. So I'm more than likely going to like Baltimore once again here, and probably not the over because I'm not going to trust that offense here. As for Buffalo and Miami, well, I think we know where I'm going with that. I don't think Buffalo's the end-all team that we thought they were going to be, but I'll probably be on the Bills as well. But once again, we'll see what they look like against Kansas City on Sunday. They can't be looking ahead here. It's a major game for them, and a game where I like the Chiefs on Sunday. The Chiefs are figuring it out. I think the Chiefs, once again, we may all hate this, might just be the best team in the AFC once again.
Yeah. They you know what? I don't doubt it. The fact that they're favorites, right, on the road. I said this a couple of weeks ago when they didn't have Rice and Worthing was hurt. I said, man, get in now, because when they get these guys back, the way Baltimore was struggling early on and Buffalo just lost to New England, I said, you're buying low. This is the perfect time to buy in on Kansas City. So, all right, quick little break. We'll get some more thoughts from George, football and baseball as well here on the Grid.
You just see Texas in any game, and again, Kentucky used to be able to put up points in the past. 43.5 is crazy because it just feels like Texas is going to come in, play really good defense, and try to squeeze this game out. It'll be interesting to see because nothing got ailed from that victory last week. Texas is back. I'm just being facetious at this point, but if we see one of those performances, 17-14 Texas
in the fourth quarter,
yeah, come on,
right? I mean, really? I mean, they got a gift last week.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. It looks like the Bengals fantasy pieces are back. What did you make of that Joe Flacco performance on Thursday night? Turning back time.
Yeah, it was great for a guy like me with gray in the beard. I love seeing it. I love my representation. But at the end of the day, just from a wagering standpoint, if this continues, it'll give some consistency and it'll give some value back to those tools that you were mentioning on the Bengals.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Defense is above average this year, and I think big picture they're going to be probably the most consistent moving forward. The problem I have is this guy, Trevor Lawrence, big picture. You got to take the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the ugly sometimes is real ugly. He is not comfortable in the pocket on a consistent basis, and that's a problem.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid. It starts innocent. One bet, one boost, one thrill. You're not haunted by ghosts. You're haunted by doubt. But that's where SportsGrid brings the light when the lines get dark. The only thing scarier than losing a bet
is missing a winner. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in-game live game day here on the grid. Scott and Brady in for Gabe tonight, waiting for the second half to start. Talking with our good buddy George Kurtz. So before we move off the football and get to some baseball talk, George, just short one game. Am I the only one that thinks New England at home only a 5.5-point favorite over the Atlanta Falcons, who just got as bad as you could look last week, and really the last 2 weeks? Is that why shouldn't the Patriots be? They were a 7-point favorite against the Browns. They were road favorites against, albeit Tennessee and New Orleans. Now they're back at home and they're only a 5.5-point favorite. I find that line to be a little suspicious. Do you?
I certainly lean your way in this, and not just what you were talking about here. I think maybe the lines or the books are a little slow to catch up with how good the Patriots are. All right, and the Falcons, by the way, are beat to hell. All right. Cousins was terrible last week. Penix is iffy. I think he does play this week, but he's not a world beater anyway. Drake London, iffy. And they've got several other injuries as well. That this is a beat-up team, the Falcons here. And it's on the road, New England. Not that the weather's going to be terrible. It would be November 2nd, whatever it is. But it certainly won't be a dome game for them. All right. So I definitely think the Patriots win. Maybe the Falcons can cover here. I'm not saying I'm going to have a big bet on the Patriots, but I certainly lean your way that this looks fishy. As some of our former co-workers would say, looks a little fishy as to only be 5.5.
All right, let's talk some diamonds here, Mr. Kurtz. I think this World Series has been fantastic. It was certainly not expected. A lot of people expected the Dodgers to sweep, but Toronto obviously now with a lead, 3-2, headed back home for Game 6 at the Rogers Center on Friday night. But Yamamoto, the Blue Jay killer, is on the bump to try and force a Game 7 for the Dodgers. Where are you headed with this one?
Patrick Forster, our producer, texted me where I was going with this, and I told him I'm going down with the ship. All right. I am so glad that there's no baseball tonight. All right, that football is really center stage, and hockey, because it's been a more normal night. Dodgers are killing me. That's right. The Dodgers are just killing me. The offense has disappeared. They've scored 4 runs in their last 29 innings. All right. Brutal. Just brutal. I don't know how much that's going to change tomorrow against Gossman. I don't. That being said, I have a ticket for the Dodgers to win the series here in 5 or 6. Obviously, that's not going to happen. I'm going to bet on the Dodgers again tomorrow. I'll try and make up some of my losses here. I probably won't have as many props on Dodger players, maybe other than Ohtani. I don't know if I trust anybody else there. Maybe Muncy can get a hold of someone like that. Will Smith. Mookie Betts looks lost. He looks old and slow is what Mookie Betts looks like there. So some problems there. My head tells me Toronto's going to win this. Maybe they'll take the 7 here. Maybe they won't win tomorrow. So I don't feel anywhere near as confident about this as I once did going in. Where Blue Jays have impressed me quite a bit here. But I'm going down with the ship. Dodgers tomorrow.
How do you explain it, George? I'm exactly with you. I said at the top of the show, I'm like, thank God baseball's not on tonight. After having the same thing, being in the Dodger camp, I don't need another game tonight. Hopefully that this is what the doctor ordered for the Dodgers as well. But how do you explain this team was 9-1 in the postseason? They were playing good ball. For them to fall apart, not only pitching, hitting, you mentioned it. How do you explain that?
There's 2 ways of looking at it in my mind. One, the Dodgers have played like this throughout the season where the offense just wasn't there. All right. Maybe that's just a part of it here. Or maybe, what do we always say? It's baseball. Maybe they just went cold at the wrong damn time. And I don't want to listen. I don't want to poo-poo the Blue Jays, right? Their pitching staff's been good. No one's been able to hit the Savage, right? We go here, he throws the splitter from overhand. No one's used to that. And not used to the movement. They can't hit him. But why can't they hit Gossman, who's been hittable this year? He's been Cy Young this year. Why couldn't they hit Bieber? He's been hittable this year as well. So it's as a Dodger backer, and I'm not even a Dodger fan, by the way. I guess as a fan, I should be happy, right? Blue Jays beat the Yankees. I'm a Yankee fan. Want the American League to win. I should probably be happy. But my money is on the Dodgers here. So that's where the upsetness comes in. I said, I equate it to, once again, it's baseball, just bad timing here. Bats have gone cold. 4 runs in the last 29 innings. Someone else besides Shohei needs to come up with a big hit.
George, if you're trying to cover some of your losses here, do you go to the MVP market and take a shot with a Dodger? You can now get Shohei Ohtani at nearly 3-1 to be MVP. I think they're going to force Game 7. Is that another way to maybe make back a couple bucks, take a shot in the MVP bracket?
Love where you're going with this. Yamamoto is pitching tomorrow, and he pitched great in Game 1. So we expect him to pitch great tomorrow as well here. You get to Game 7, anything can happen here. And Ohtani will be pitching in Game 7 as well. He's not slated to start. They're going to start Glasnow, and Ohtani will pitch at some point. And if the Dodgers win, I don't see any way that Ohtani's not the MVP, right? No one else has done anything. So I assume it's going to be, unless Freeman was to hit a game-winning, walk-off, well, it wouldn't be a walk-off in Toronto, but a game-winning home run there. So, yeah, I like where you're going with that. I'll lose some more money on the Dodgers. Let's go.
I still think Yamamoto with 25-1. If he pitches a gem tomorrow, might be a decent little shot. Good job, George. Appreciate it.